Welcome back to FPVguy.com. Today we're going to make a beginner entry-level FPV aircraft. As you all know, I think video goggles and FPV is one hell of a fun hobby. And it's probably growing really fast because a lot of the parts are constantly sold out. Let me put my sunglasses on. Since I have gotten rid of my artificial vision, now I need glasses to see for real. Flying through goggles, through these things here, there's two video screens inside, and flying through them literally puts you in the pilot seat. Like, come on in, sit down, close the hatch, and get ready to fly. So you're now in the pilot seat of your aircraft. In this particular case here, I've had a lot of fun lately flying the Walkera Pandora Warrior. I actually call it the AT-99 attack aircraft because that's what it's modeled on. So this thing here, as you can see, I installed an antenna and I put a key camera number 808 with number 16 or with a D lens down underneath here. I pulled the cable in here and up into the top where the transmitter sits and sent the signal down to here. So all of a sudden this aircraft that wasn't really meant to be flown FPV can be driven down the street like you were sitting on board and flying through the window, looking out, looking around like you're sitting in your little aircraft here. So we're not going to fly this today. You can relax now. I'm going to put that over here. What we are going to talk about today is what has been my hammer lately. I've had a lot of fun. This is the Hoten-X from Walkera. And what is so cool about it is the parts are inexpensive. It's very, very light. This thing here, ready to fly, is only 350 grams. So it's very easy to fly with. And I've got a bunch of questions how I made this work really good. There's a lot of little details, like you see, even the little piece of tape sitting over the lens here keeps me from getting lens flare while flying. And as you can tell, I have balanced the props a little bit. But one of the cool things about the Hoten-X is it's only 350 grams. But the distance from propeller to propeller is the same as on a Phantom or the Walkera X350. So it's about 350 millimeters from here to here. But it's only half the weight. What that means is the propellers turns really slowly to lift the weight. So unlike the heavier aircrafts, this is not going to scare the shit out of you when it gets close to you. So here, this is the Hoten-X. And now why am I interested in a light aircraft for learning how to fly FPV? I'm going to tell you why. First of all, we talked about this thing a minute ago that I said we're not going to talk about again. This thing is 700, almost 800 grams. So when this flies, if you run into something, you're going to break something. If you run into yourself, it's going to hurt big time. So avoid the hurt. Don't run into yourself with this. And by the way, if you're not a proficient, comfortable pilot yet, this is not an aircraft for you. It's fun to fly, but you've got to get some hours and some proficiency before I'm going to let you into this aircraft. The other one I've been flying is this bad boy. Oh, that is even bigger. Can you tell? But it's great flying. Notice how it's called a Y6. It has got two motors. Notice how big these motors is. And just for comparison, let's put this up to the lens. Here is the motor from the Hoten and the motor from the Y6. This thing has a lot more horsepower. It will chop finger-sized branches just like that, and it won't even stop. But it's also fun to fly, and a Y6 flies really nicely. It has a very smooth flying. So it's a Y6 aircrafts are great video platforms. I hang my camera right here, and I printed this part with rubber rings in the middle to dampen it further from vibrations. Anyway, this is a Y6, and again, once you learn how to fly, you're gonna have fun with some bigger, funner, better, hope it doesn't fall, and stranger aircrafts. What we're gonna do today is get back to the Hoten, because I've been getting questions how to make the Hoten. Hoten is sold as an FPV aircraft. And let me tell you right now, it doesn't work for FPV out of the box. So we're going to take a bone stock Hoten that I got from Walkera Helicopter Supply in Washington somewhere. They've been really good sending me parts, like when I burn out a motor, we need new motors. They're pretty good at getting it out. And one of the lovely things here is the arms are aluminum. So when you bend them, most of the time you can just straighten it out. So it's pretty straight. You'll notice that this one here is not actually, notice how one arm is not straight with the other one. I banged into a couple of things quite often, but I keep straightening them. If it gets too bad, it's like $2 for a new aluminum tube arm. So buy 3 or 4. Enough about spare parts. Let's start looking at this. The components here. Let's actually start. The out-of-the-box Hoten. Here is the thing I got from Dave. And this. These things were not meant to be opened. Broke. Okay, here is a stock Hoten. Bone stock, comes directly from Walkera. There. It also comes with extra propellers. You can never have too many propellers. Trust me when I say that. Buy extras, just do it. Don't ask, just do it. Okay. Bone stock. Here's one of these. Done with the box. And here is the Hoten. That is how it arrives. In here is the battery tray and the power lead. And on top is this big shell. I fly without this because it's about 20 grams. So you can see mine is flying naked. It also sounds more exciting, doesn't it? Well, kind of. When you're new, you may actually want to leave this on. And I'm going to tell you why. Because when the wind blows, this creates drag. That means your Hoten is not going to accelerate as fast. It's going to accelerate slowly. So you're not going to be as surprised that it suddenly takes off and just scoots down the street just like that. So to keep things slower, you may want to have this on. However, once you get used to flying, get rid of this sucker. It looks funny, it slows you down, and it's extra weight that does nothing to lift. And in this hobby here, anything that is not contributing to lift is holding you back. So, gotta lose the top. Anyway, for now, what we're gonna do is when you buy this FPV, the package, FPV package, then you usually get a radio. I recommend the F7. If you don't already have a Walkera radio, get an F7. However, you can fly this with an F4, a Devo 4, or any other Walkera radio. My personal favorite that I constantly use is the Devo 6 because it's a lot smaller than this, so it's not as bulky. It fits right under my driver's or passenger side seat alongside with my goggles. So nobody knows I have a full FPV kit in my car. I'm ready to go play if I have the time and find a good little spot. Anyway, let me put this down. The F1, by the way, has a monitor in it. I'm not going to get into that today. We're building an aircraft. When to fly this and to look true here, you need 2 things. You need the transmitter. And I got to tell you, the transmitter from Walkera is a good little transmitter. This one here is the 5803. I highly recommend it for $30-some. It's a great deal. It works well. It has this little protected box. Nothing wrong with that one. The other thing Walkera would like to sell you is the camera named DV04. It's a piece of beep, beep, beep. Putting it politely. Don't buy this. It's not worth it. And they want $40 for it. And for $40, what you can get is a much better camera called a Keycam 808. So this one here, we're not going to use it. We're sending it that way. So when you buy this, I would buy the BNF, that is bind and fly, or I would buy a stock Hoten with, now what you're going to find in here when you take this apart is that the tail lights are connected to the white connectors in front, and I'm going to just pull that out because we're not going to be able to see if we assemble this with a canopy on. And now the front lights are connected to the two servo out plugs right here. So they are servo plugs. They're using the 5 volts from the servo to power the lights. The tail lights are interesting because they can change color. And what I've done on mine is I wired the tail lights back in. So can you see they sit right, if you look at right this corner right here where my finger is, it sit there. I just stuck it right on there with some double-sided tape. And that will tell me what my settings are. So we have removed this. This is 20 grams. That's the slow down air brake thing for when you're new at this. I'm going to put it over here. So here is the Hoten. All naked, all purdy. It's brand new. Aww. And the first thing you see in here is something you should pay a lot of attention to. The antenna is right there. When you fly FPV, you're going to fly away from yourself. So you're going to get some distance. You always want this antenna to be straight up. See how it's sticking up now? Because that way it can get signal from your radio. So you can control it. If it's all curled up and you get behind something, this thing is just going to start going down like a leaf and it's going to land. And you're going to have to go fetch it. So make sure always that this antenna is straight and standing straight up in the air. So what we're going to do, Walkera envisioned putting the camera underneath. So we're going to do the same thing. And the camera we're going to use, I actually have the parts. It just so happens, this is the parts you need to buy. Here is the $14 Y that we're going to plug into the power system. And here is, now you can make the choice if you're going to fly with the Walkera TX 503, which is going to cost you about $35. And it's a good little radio, nothing bad about it. But I'm going to install my favorite stuff, ImmersionRC 600 milliwatts 5.8. That is the bad boy you want. This is one great little radio. So that's what we're going to install today. And finally, we're going to upgrade the antennas. So we're going to put SpiroNet antennas from FatShark, SpiroNet. We're going to put these things on here as well. So when we're done, this is going to be upgraded and we're going to be ready to fly. Let's just go ahead and start. Here is the camera. That's a 508 camera. And on my blog is a link to where you can buy that on the internet. Here it is. It shoots 720p, which is the same thing that DV04 from Walkera does, except this one works. And it actually has better quality. Can't argue with good quality anytime. Memory card goes in on the side here. On the other side is right here is a USB cable, and these comes with a USB cable, which gets inserted like so. And up in the other end, we have all these cables here. I'm going to show you in a minute how we're going to put these together. So let's take this out, and we're also going to make a file, and I'm going to make a link to that file on my blog, so you can download it and put it in here. The way you update this, pay attention. You put the memory card in, and after you have charged it, of course, then you hold down the power button, which is the bigger button. So first you hold down the little button, you keep holding it down, then you're going to hold down the power button until it starts blinking, and now you're going to let go of the power button, and you're going to keep holding the little one down until the light goes out. Now you have updated the settings. So you can put the file from my website right in on the memory card, stick it into here, and update it with that. What it's going to do is it's going to rotate the video so the buttons can stick out the bottom, because otherwise we can't get to them. And it's also going to turn on the video out so that you can actually see video in your goggles. Now, let's take a look here. We're gonna install this right here, and this is on the bottom. Can you see? I don't know if you can. Up here is a couple of stuffs. You can see those little pipes right there. They're in the way. Cutters. I think these are called side cutters. So we're gonna lose those 4 little bibs. Much better. I feel better already. I've cut something apart. It's a good start on the day. Secondarily, 3M industrial outdoor mounting tape. Thank you God, this is great stuff. We're gonna need a strip of it. It fits right in between here. So we're gonna just cut it. And on the one end, I'm gonna make a short fold about yay long. I know it could be longer, but there's a reason, because I want my camera to sit at an angle so it looks down a little bit. So now, remember I made the fold, now I'm gonna make it twice as long as that fold. Kind of like that, see how it's kind of like a wedge now? And we're gonna repeat, and we're gonna just keep wadding this up a little bit. And here comes the last part, notice? Oh, that worked really good. It came right out on top here. So now the next thing we're gonna do, see, ideally, you should fly with the camera right in here. But then you would see a lot of the propellers up here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna push the camera out about this far. That way you can see much better. So, after all, we're doing this for our own entertainment, so let's not make life harder than it has to be. So we're going to mount this little wedge about halfway back on the back of the camera and wad it down really good. Then we take our aircraft. But see, look at this. See all those little holes there? Obviously we can't install anything there. So we're going to hold on to this for just 1 second. And while I do that, take the double-sided tape protector thing and put that on top so we don't get it stuck anywhere. Because what our next thing is going to be, here, that's what I needed. I needed a little bit of firm plastic. So let's crack open and talk about this. This is the ImmersionRC 600 milliwatt transmitter. Beautiful. It is the best little transmitter out there for 5.8. Highly recommended. It comes with a, I'm guessing, 2 decibel, maybe more, 4 decibels, dipole whip antenna. So this is what we're going to use. It also comes with a plug to wire it into a camera system, and importantly it comes with the power cable to feed this thing. There you go. Notice it's got a little plug for a JT in the other end, so we should be ready. Let's see where we're at. I'm gonna put on it also comes with stickers. I mean, hey dude, stickers, that's where it's at. Can't really use the cardboard for anything, but this little piece of beauty, that is what we need. What I'm gonna do, let me just yank the battery out of this one that's in the way here. That's mine. Here's the battery. That was loud. This is the width we want. So what I'm going to do, really quickly, is cut down straight here. And I also want this the little angle here. I want it to have a 90-degree angle. See, like there. And then I'm going to cut it again. See, so I have this little lip on the end. Let's check against this battery. I think it's too wide still, so. There. And now I'm going to cut the lip so it's about 5 millimeters. I don't need the lip, it's just to make life easier. Here's what it's going to do. I am going to slide this into the battery compartment. Now it's too long, so now the next thing I need to do is I need to cut this. See this piece here? this goes into the, and I wanted to just exactly stick a little bit out of the battery compartment here, not more, but it needs to go all the way to the end. So I'm gonna cut it right about there. If you cut it a little bit too short, nobody's gonna care. There you have it. See how this piece now fits in here. This is kind of the entire trick in mounting this camera well. This slides right in here. So let's put this back down. I think this thing is in the way. And here is my camera again. Fire in the hole. This thing is taking off. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this piece of plastic here inside. See how it's sticking out there? I'm gonna try to keep it up to the camera. See how it's sticking out? But it's going underneath, so that when I push this down, this sticky tape is gonna attach to this clear plastic. So let's try get my finger under it. The hard thing is to keep it in place and get my big fat fingers in there. Now my finger's in place, and we can tuck this thing right in place. We want to make sure the camera is kind of pretty straightforward and kind of centered. I mean, centered is pretty, right? And ladies and gentlemen, camera is mounted. See how it is looking down a little bit? Because especially when you're new at flying, when you have to come back down, it is so nice to be able to see where you're going. And also if you come into a shadow and you have sunlight up in the sky, the shadow will get really dark. So when you fly into the shadow, you want this thing not see so much sky. As you get better and you get more comfortable, you can adjust this. On my other Hoten, this camera is almost straight, because in the end I usually fly with a lot of angle. So I still want to be able to see the horizon, and to do that I have to have the camera look up more. So when you get more experienced, you're going to adjust this camera upwards. But right now we're going to keep it down. We're going to tuck these really good in here. So these are now tucked in. This camera is on there. You do not have to worry about it coming off. It is solid. The next thing we're going to talk about now is how to mount the VTX. And I probably should not have thrown the TX5803 away quite yet. Oh, I didn't. I threw the camera away. Here is the TX5803. The place that Walkera mounts that is right here. They zip tie it to the bag. And I love the position. It's up high. It's out of the way. But here's what I found out. There's enough spill. There's enough radiation of God knows what, but some frequency that blocks our signal, that it actually interferes with the antenna. So having figured that out, I moved it down on the side and I put it on the outside of the leg. And so now you can see, in reality, when it's sitting here, we have some of the leg and some of the carbon fiber plates here between the radio and the antenna. So that turned out to be a good spot. So I'm not going to mount this one today. I am going to mount the 600 milliwatt one. So we're putting this down, but it is good. I like the Walkera radio. Nobody at Walkera should call me and tell me I said I didn't like it. I don't like the camera, but I do like the radio. Here's the good stuff. The 600 milliwatt from ImmersionRC or from FatShark. You can also use Iftron radios. Great stuff. Let's take this, some more of this. To get a good fit, we always want to double the tape. So we're gonna do about maybe 5 centimeters. And I'm gonna double it. We could zip tie it on too, but I'm not entirely sure where. And this here, zip ties sometimes works himself loose with components. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this antenna thing down, and I'm going to stick this on the back. I kind of find myself a smooth place towards the front a little bit. Stick it on the back. Try not to damage that shrink wrap here. And then it goes on this side right here. All right. Now in here is the part for the USB, and we're going to put this thing out here. Maybe kind of right about over all these holes. You could probably zip tie through these holes. If I could speak English, that is what I would say. Here's where, on the front, where we're going to connect the camera, and here's the camera. So the next part now is going to be the camera connection cable. And this comes with a servo cable and USB in the one end. When you look at the top, this is great. I love these guys, have it stuffed together. It says here what we have where. We have, on the pins, we have 5 volts, then we have ground, and then we have video. So ground is in the middle, video is in the end, and 5 volts is, now what this one has, ground on the end, but not in the middle. We need it in the middle. To do that, we're going to grab this really flat little screwdriver, and I'm going to pop this one out ever so gently and pull on it. So, having released that little tab that holds it, I pull it out and I push it down in the next one. Now, it needs to be pushed all the way down though. There. The last thing we need to do is grab the ground, the red one. Same process. See if I can show you how to do that. Can you see right here, not up here where the metal is, but down here is a little plastic tab. Stick the edge underneath it and you're ready to pull it out. So let me pull. There, the red one is out. Okay, almost ready. The black one, I don't need that because we already have 1 ground. We don't need 2 grounds, right? So let's lose that. There we go. The red one now comes in, clicked, and goes on the end. So now we have modified this USB cable. We have it attached correctly. So the next thing is going to be, we're going to plug it into the camera down here on the front side. And what I did is what I like to do is I usually try to roll it up so it kind of have a flexible connection. To make this really work, it doesn't work very well, just like that. You have to kind of abuse it a little bit. So we're just going to force it into a little spool that it doesn't really want to have. There. Having done that so elegantly, this thing comes in here. You can see our little spool. And now all we have to do, and always check your video. Don't take anything for granted. Red cable goes to the 5, black is ground, white is, that looks good. So now you just slide the little servo adapter over the 3 pins and you are attached. Here it is. It sits in a little loop here so that the point of this is it shouldn't touch the arm up here, because then the vibrations from the propeller goes down and starts shaking the camera. We don't want that. So now the camera is attached, and it's attached to this. We're missing one thing. We can fly right now, but there's no power. So here's this amazing little $14 gizmo from our friends at Walkera. Just buy it, it's a spare part. And I'm gonna put a link again on my website to the part number, so don't worry. First of all, what it does is it gives us a out right here. So we are gonna put this one here. The one thing is gonna go in red to red, black to black. We're gonna pop that into the system there. Now we need to attach that, so we're gonna grab a zip tie real quickly. Zip tie, and see where this is attached now is the normal power plug for the battery. We're putting this between the battery and the Hoten power, and it's made by Walkera for this. So don't worry about this, it is gonna work. I like it out here because it's a little easier to get to, so I'm just gonna zip tie it right about here. Zip tie. This is a fancy, thin zip tie cable here that my friend Blackout, who makes the Blackout mini cords, sent to me. There we go, look at that. This is now where the battery is going to connect. And we're going to get rid of the rest of this zip tie. There. Done. People keep telling me not to throw it on the floor, but seriously, it feels good. Okay, now we have a male power, but a JST plug. And remember, in my kit box, this came with power plug and JST on the other end, ready to go. Guys at ImmersionRC, I love you. So that goes into the bottom of the radio, right down here. That empty spot right here is where the power goes. So we are gonna put that in. And again, read. The black is ground, red is power. Here it says ground and battery. So we're gonna call the red battery. And we're gonna put that in. When it goes click, it's in. Okay, now we're ready. We're gonna take that and you can put that behind here, put it up here, and I would put some kind of zip ties on it to make it real neat and pretty. But right now, to save some time, I'm gonna just wind it around the arm here to get it to have about the right length. And the last thing I did was plug that into the JST plug here. I'm sure you can come up with a way to coil this up really neatly, put a zip tie, hide it down here somewhere, and it'll be really clean and pretty. But clean and pretty doesn't get you flying, so we gotta keep going and keep putting parts together. We're ready to plug a battery in here, and we have this hooked up. We can't fire, you never wanna fire this stuff up without an antenna in place. So let's get an antenna. There it is. This is the antenna that comes out of the box. We have the camera. We've made this. Here's a battery. And we use that little lip so we don't catch on our support thing. This battery is getting a little chubby. It's been flown a lot. So the battery is in place. Let's see what our weight is like. And see, here's the beautiful thing. That camera is so light that this thing balances nicely. And what you have right here right now is about 350 grams. Let's see if it fires up. Oh, did you hear that? Little beep. You see the lights coming on? And it's blinking up on top. You know why it's blinking? It doesn't have a radio. Now we're firing the radio up. I don't suppose our radio and everything is going on the same frequencies, but we'll find out sure enough. Did you hear the beep again? It has now bound itself with this radio. So now what we've got left to do is, don't get hurt. I'm really good at starting these things at the wrong time. I'm gonna put it in my hand. Here's the radio. We can close this up and we're gonna test it. Oh, I don't think this should be touching the antenna. Let's move the antenna a little bit. Dudes, this is working. So here we are. You could have an F4, a Devo 4, a Devo 6, which I love, a Devo 10, Devo 12, or a F7, which, thank you, Walkera. I think that's a pretty damn cool radio. And I'm gonna give a little spiel later why I think so, but let's get on with this. First thing we're gonna do, unplug battery. And kill the radio, in that order. And remember, before you start flying, up, 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 up. And this should be centered. You're ready to fly before you turn it on. So I always turn this on first, wait till it has all blink and the red light starts blinking, then I turn on the radio, and when it goes beep beep down here on the quad, then I know it is ready to go. Now, before we proceed, we're ready now. This is finished. Here is a brand new, virgin, never touched, beautiful little Hoten-X FPV Pro. I'm calling it Pro because this is using the right camera and a bitchin' transmitter. Now we're gonna make it better. You can use all kinds of receivers. I use the FatShark. This is the FatShark Attitudes. You'll be fine with predators, but if you have the money, get yourself a pair of FatShark Attitudes because they're just better. They have more sensitive screens, so you always want to put them so they don't face the sun, because otherwise images can burn into them. The other nice thing with FatSharks is you can put correctional lenses for people like me with glasses. You can put corrections in here so you have a nice clear image when you fly. Now, they arrive with this fancy FatShark branded antenna, but we're gonna, for only about $35, we can double our reach by getting this spiral net antenna. So let's step it up, guys. The antenna arrives crumpled up in this little box, all curled up like this. The short one is for your aircraft. The long one is for your goggles. So first things first, we're going to take the antenna off the aircraft right here, and we're going to take the little one and there it is. Now these are polarized and they need to be like this because they basically create a donut of the radio signal which goes out flat, so they don't go up, they go out flat, forward, backwards and sideways. The same kind of donut, just like the shape of the antenna here. That means if you fly right over yourself at a lot of altitude, you won't be able to see the video. However, from the ends, when you're flying out maybe at 50 feet up in the air, you're going to have a really good donut that's going to give you a strong signal. Then this one here, that is the long one, goes on the antenna. And there it is. Bend it up. The reason for that is if you have a big noggin like me, when the aircraft comes behind you, your head may in fact hide the aircraft, or your head may block out the radio signal. So by using the tall one, it gets it up higher so you can look over your own head if you're flying behind yourself. So that's it. We're plugged into the goggles. We're plugged into the aircraft. The aircraft is now ready to fly. All you have to do is make sure that the camera is set up correctly. And that's a different story. Again, I'm going to put my setup file on my blog. So check out my blog at fpvguy.com. And I'm going to, of course, put a link right about here somewhere. Ladies and gentlemen, this is it. It has taken us about half an hour, and we have modified a bone stock $160 Hoten-X. We have added a $70 ImmersionRC and a $40 camera. So the most important thing here is it's $160 and it's not expensive, it's easy to repair. And because of the propellers going slowly, it's not the most dangerous aircraft you've ever been around. So this is a good one to start out. It's a fair weather flyer. You should use it when the wind is not blowing hard. So that's it. Thank you for watching me, and come back for more videos about FPV, both beginner and advanced FPV experiences and videos on my website at fpvguy.com. Thank you very much and happy flying. Now I'm going to see how do I turn this off right there.